mistaken.
You're too mistaken.
But we're in the same boat then. I understand.
We're not in the same boat.
Yeah, because you were asking
the next time I see, how often do you come?
I'm often here, but remember you were saying 6:32.
Okay. I was wrong. I should have said to at the time of the right that.
Right? So we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat. We are.
But
and you know what? I'm not even a purist in that sense. I'm not even a purist in that sense. I do not, because this is not how ancient books were compiled. You don't have the person living and the book is compiled. That's not how it used to work back then. If you look at all the ancient books, from Aesop's fables to Plato's books to the Bible, the way they used to compile books was not the way we compile books today. As in, autobiography of Winston Churchill, you're sitting there and the biographer is writing. That's not how it used to work. So it's a false comparison that we sometimes do. There's like, and usually people who do not actually even believe in Jesus, like these extremists. Imagine I'll say, oh, there's people, scholars who say Jesus didn't even exist, right? That's an extreme position under a niche group of people, but the vast majority of scholars do believe that Jesus existed.
This is when Mark was written, 50 years after 60 years after Jesus. Matthew, 50, 60.
Because of the way
I know.
We're not Romans, 60.
I know.
His point, I know, his point is not
These are estimates.
Exactly.
These are just estimates when they think they were written. They don't have the
Revelation
books of that
90 to 96 years after Christ.
40 years
But
later,
there's something you're missing though.
by the students.
No,
No, but those
New Testament.
yeah, but those gospels, they've got manuscripts of them.
Yeah, but that's what he said. He said they were written 30 years afterwards.
Yeah.
They were 90 years. Some of them were 90 years. He said all of them were 30 years at the same time.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is they've got.
They believe Christ died, sorry Michael, in 30
to be that way. So, as
30 AD.
30 AD.
So when it says 70, minus 30 from it.
Oh, is that
40.
Okay.
That's what
I like that.
I ask you, why does it have to be that date?
Right, but I noticed.
Oh, makes sense.
I noticed you mentioned about the Uthmani
I know you
codex.
have a cut here.
No, Uthman codex.
He mentioned.
Yeah, you mentioned about the Uthmani codex.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where is it?
What do you mean?
Where is it?
I mean, why is the Uthmani Codex?
You know what the Uthmani
No, he's the one who mentioned it. So does
You know the
anyone know where
Quran is written in the Uthmani Codex after the death of the Prophet. So when it was compiled, the writings of it, the Arabic of it is different, but it's still the same Arabic.
Yeah, but where is this actual codex?
So
Does
the
that-
Uthmani
is-
Quran-
is- no,
is
but
the
if it-
Uthmani.
I just looked at him, and you know at the beginning he says, find me a book 632. I'm like, why are you so hung up on it? Find me a book, and he's like, I want a book during the lifetime of the Prophet. You know? And this is a delicious criteria. Yeah. Now he's just, I think that's it.
He's asking for one word and three, and then he's over the top. That's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked at the beginning, do you want it to the entirety or a fragment? If you want a fragment, you've got the family manuscript.
The brother's word.
If you want this entirety, the story saying you can go right and get a fragment. You know the SALAM manuscript? You know when they look at the UV and they look the writing you can see by eye is in correlation with the Uthmani Codex. The one they can see underneath, do you know what they call it? C1. What does C stand for? Companion. They even attribute it to a companion. The scholars call it C1.
But you see, like this obsession that people have with the book, or something has to be attributed to the lifetime of the person. I'm currently exploring that idea, and I'm like, this is false, because then
We said Plato,
anything we can't construct history. It's impossible. Because the way, they're thinking is the way we compile biographies today, like...
The Septuagint is roughly 3000 BC, 300 BC. About 1500 years circa before Moses.
Really?
The Hebrew Bible, the Aleppo Codex, is in the 1000s. 2000 years after Moses.
Because it's oral tradition that people forget. These people were well versed in oral tradition. That's how they have. That's how they were preserving their knowledge. And that's what sometimes I like. I don't fall into that trap You know, they like to lay down.
But here's the interesting thing though, because I asked some Muslims before about this. Is
C1, that's profound.
Yeah, you know how we have the we got like the Codex Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus. They're like the oldest, sort of mostly complete manuscripts. So, and the reason why I'd see why those manuscripts exist is because at the time you had a lot of people who believed in the writings, and so obviously some people with more power came along who had the money to actually put their writings onto parchment, because before it was on papyrus, which obviously is cheaper. So, but then they managed to preserve those writings from that time till now. And so, and obviously the reason they did that is because they saw the writings as being important. So then, as the same thing happened with Islam.
That's also not very true. First of all, who saw what as important? What governmental body or institutions?
No, it doesn't have to be government. It's just people who've got money. As long as you've got enough money to buy the cows.
Okay, but what institution compiled the codex?
No, it's just someone who had the influence.
It's usually religious institutions who compile. The moment you hear the word codex, it means there was a governmental body behind it. Whenever you see codex.
Well, even that, you could say that's even better. So, some governmental body felt that it was worth the trouble to actually put all the writings into those manuscripts, get all the cows animals that are necessary to get the skin off, and to put the writings down. So they obviously felt it was.
But there could be many reasons why they do that.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that they did it in those two occasions. So then, did that ever happen with Islam?
Yeah, it happens as well.
Yeah, but can you give me an example?
Yeah, Uthmani, the Uthmani script that he's mentioned, that's a governmental effort to compile the Quran on a national level.
Right.
Not even national, I mean government, imperial level.
Yeah. But you know the one that he mentioned about the Uthman? He's not talking about the Sanaa manuscript, is he?
Is the Sanaa manuscript of Uthmani origin, or is it?
It coincides with the Islamic codex. What I said was, the majority of Quranic scholars attribute the Quran we have today to the Islamic codex. They say it all derives from there.
Right. So, and you'd say that the Sanaa manuscript is one of those.
I believe so.
Okay, have you ever...
There's from my understanding, you've got the text that you can see in ink.
Yeah.
And then using UV, they can see the text that is rubbed off underneath.
Yeah, I've actually got all the images of both sections.
Yeah, so you know what I'm on about.
Yeah. But then when you look at that manuscript, it's actually quite incomplete, because some of the pictures, you can see there's like parts of the pages. And this was supposed to be...
when you mean incomplete, what are you implying here? What are you expecting? What's your criteria?
Because, basically my criteria is that with the Codex Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus, those are from the 4th century. So that's way before the Sanaa manuscript or even the Topkapi. But my point is that they've managed to preserve those manuscripts from all that time, from before the Quran. So then, so the point I'm trying to make is...
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Appreciate your patience.
It's just, all I can say is it depends.
You said the Aleppo Codex, I believe. It's the 4th century, which was before the Uthmani Codex.
Yeah, the Sanaa and the... the Sinaiticus. Yeah, and the...
But the point of... You can only make that claim is when you backdate it, i.e. the time of Christ.
Yeah, and
to when that was written.
That's not what I'm talking. That's not the subject.
That is the point.
No, you're going to a different subject.
The full 300 years, roughly.
You said 400 years from what?
You can't compare that to the Uthmani.
No, that's a different subject. The subject I'm trying to say is the fact that they had the text, and this is from the 4th century, and they preserved it.
What do you mean by 4th? What is 4th century? I'm very
300 and something.
After? After what?
Yeah, after Christ.
Thank you, but that's the point you're making.
No, but you see, what you're doing is you're going away from my actual point.
Okay, what's the point?
My actual point is that from a time from before Islam, they had some writings which they considered to be holy, and they preserved them.
Okay.
So then, if the Sanaa came out, and those people looked on that Sanaa manuscript as being holy, then it would have been as complete as the Sinaiticus, the Vaticanus, and they wouldn't have been selling pages.
I don't understand you. I don't understand.
No. Have you heard the history of what happened to this?
Yeah, I heard the history, but I don't still understand your point. What are you saying?
No, that.
What has the Sanaa to do with the codexes that you're speaking about?
No, my point is that those people, for the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, they obviously knew how to preserve it, and probably they didn't even have that much skill, but yet they still managed to successfully preserve it.
Yeah.
So then, if the Quran was so important in the time of the 8th century, why didn't they manage to preserve the Sanaa manuscript as well?
Bro, the Sanaa manuscript, what do you tell me about the history about it? What's the significance of it?
No, they found it in the Sanaa. I think the town is called Sanaa, isn't it? And they found it in a mosque. But then why would they?
How can you be upset with what they find?
No, I'm not upset. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to compare how serious they were about.
No, it's just what they happened to
Michael,
find.
this is how serious.
Right. Yeah.
Quran recitation.
Yeah.
It was so serious. Hundreds and then thousands and then tens of thousands and then hundreds of thousands and then millions of people memorized it.
Yeah,
that's how serious they took it.
Yeah, they memorized the wrong one.
So, regardless.
That's important. It's not straw man.
That's how important they took it. Because they knew they cannot solely rely on the written text. That they need to memorize it, which fitted in to the cultural norms of the Arabs at that time. Predominantly illiterate and a civilization that prided and relied on oral tradition. If it's so important to Christians, show me one Christian today who has memorized the Bible in its entirety, be it 66, 77 or 88 books.
We have Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, so we don't need to.
That's my question.
So it doesn't.
You do need to.
No.
Because you do not rely on oral tradition. The Muslims do, i.e., case in point, burn every Quran in the world and it can be rewritten using oral memorization. You cannot do that with the Christian Bible. That's how important we take it.
Why did they find elephants?
That's how important we take it.
No.
Why did they find it? Because that's what they found. But it has nothing to do with what Uthmani compiles within being a companion.
No, but I think you don't understand the point, because
Can I back up to you? Can I repeat it to you?
All right.
To see if I understand.
Okay.
So the point you're making here, you're saying, okay, since they found the Sanaa manuscript, which is just a fragment, right?
No, it's a reasonable amount.
But it's not the end. Right?
No.
Because they found that, right? There's a question on whatever comes after.
Oh no! See, that's the thing. What I'm saying is,
you have to simplify what you're saying, please.
But all right. Let's try.
It's like sophistry.
All right. Let me try and do it as an example then.
Yeah.
So you have like I said about the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. They got the writings together, and so they were. Motivated, that's the word. Something motivated them to make sure they got as much as possible and they kept it in a good condition.
Yeah.
So then, if they were, like you even said about it being a government, seems like it was a government effort. So then, if they were so serious that even a government organization got involved, then when it comes to the Quran, people should take it as serious, isn't it? Because it's a holy book, so...
Okay, and because the Sanaa wasn't completed...
No, because it wasn't preserved well, that's my point.
Therefore people didn't take it serious.
Because
there's one manuscript that was found. So you're basically saying because one manuscript was found, people didn't take it serious.
No, it's the quality of what was found.
No, well, it's still the quantity. It's a quantity.
No, quality.
No, it's quantity. Because there might have been, and I presume you would agree with me, there might have been 20 manuscripts. Yeah, but archaeologists didn't find 20 manuscripts. They only found one.
No, not archaeologists. Because you see, this is the thing. The Vaticanus and
No, Vaticanus. I'm talking about the Sanaa manuscript.
Yeah, but
You saying, this is why you're saying, because they found this one manuscript that wasn't completed, therefore the entirety of Muslims didn't take it serious. How can you base them?
No, you're almost there. What the point really is why would they have to find it in the first place? The thing about Vaticanus and Sinaiticus is they kept it in a storage all the time. So if the Muslims took it as seriously, they should have had a Quran.
No, you
in
can't
storage.
You said memorization. You can't dictate how people compile things. First of all, to keep things clear, the codex that he's talking about comes 400, 500, 300 years in. Uthman was a companion, and he compiles it. So what's the conversation?
They did present well, and that was through memorization.
Yeah, but they.
Right.
You don't want to take that, saying that's not present.
No. I can. So you want to go to memorization then?
I'm saying that was a good preservation because even till now you have people memorizing from 1300 years ago. So for me, that is not the best.
No, but it's not. It's no point. It's no point. The stuff that he's talking about, he says that which they preserve really well, gets compiled 200 years after we did it.
Yes, but remember, but they preserved it. So it's not how long. It's the fact that you managed to preserve it. That's the whole point.
It is to do with the time. It's to do with the time because preservation is also to do with the effectiveness and how fast you can preserve something. Of course, time plays a role. If it takes 1,000 years to preserve something, and then you have a generation that preserves a knowledge of people within a century, that's remarkable.
Yeah, no, but
that's what I'm talking about.
No, but my point is the fact that they did preserve it. That's my point.
That's no point. Because your point, you're saying, just because they found Sanaa, how many times did you actually go to the desert to find? Did you know, for example, that in Mecca and Medina, there aren't any archaeological, sites?
Yeah, you don't want to go into that.
But that's to do with the political government in Saudi. I don't know why they have this policy. But I'm sure that if you were to dig there, you would find stuff. So just because of the absence of evidence doesn't mean that
they did dig there though.
Huh?
They did dig there.
No, they didn't.
No, those tall buildings, they had to dig the ground out.
No, come on, stop.
No,
I'm talking about archaeological, not construction. I'm talking archaeologically, people going there intentionally trying to find something. It's a very controversial topic. The Saudis haven't allowed it. Too tough, which is, I don't know, it's up to their remit. They're the government there. But the point I'm trying to make to you is that your absence of evidence doesn't prove anything. Just because they found that one manuscript, it doesn't mean anything.
No, it's absence of effort of preservation.
No, it doesn't mean anything. That manuscript could have been a personal manuscript that someone was compiling and didn't finish it because he passed away, or where did they find it? Where did they find it? In Sanaa?
Yeah, it was in a mosque. Yeah.
In Yemen?
Yeah.
So maybe that book was being compiled, but the person didn't finish it. Yeah. There are many reasons why it was compiled.
And that's related to my point. The fact that
the Bible has parchments all over the place. There's parchments of the Bible. Are you not going to say to me, that person that was writing that parchment, because he didn't write the entire Bible, therefore they didn't preserve the Bible correctly?
No, because someone came along and put it into parchment.
No, but the parchment still exists. Say, for example, that's all
those are papyrus. Those are the ones that wear out quicker.
I'm using Sanaa as an example, as a one-to-one example.
Right.
Imagine there was just a parchment, which the Bible has loads of it, manuscript, that was found.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. But then there's still compilation happening much more later.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
I wouldn't use that as a point of they didn't preserve the Bible poorly. I would just say, that's the parchment that we happen to be finding. This is the thing that we found. Yeah. Who wrote it, who it belonged to, we don't know. Why is it just half of it? Was it burned? Was it thrown into the water? We don't know. So the point that you're making, I'm sorry, I believe I understand. To me, it's a no-brainer, because besides that, we have Uthman, the Uthmani script, that many scholars, including yourself, is an accepted source, which Uthman was a companion of the Prophet. So this is not even 400 years later to the codex that you're referring to.
Right.
So we're all in the same boat here. Your history is slightly different, and our history is slightly different.
All right. So when you say about the Uthmani codex, you're talking about the one that's memorized.
No, I'm talking about Uthmani codex that the majority of the Qur'ans derive from today.
Yeah, but it has to be a memorized one because there isn't a text version of it.
Of course, there's a text version.
Where?
What? Of course, there's a text version.
Where?
What is Uthmani script then? What's Uthmani script?
No, I'm talking about the actual.
No, what does Uthmani script refer to? It refers to the text.
Yeah,
The right way things are written.
Yeah, and so where is it?
We have it. It's all there. It's all there.
Where?
What do you mean where? Scholars found
Okay,
it.
no, because
Where is it? But you're saying it's not there. So what?
We have Uthmani books.
no.
Where is it?
No, because all I know the major ones you have is the Sanaa manuscript and the Topkapi
No,
manuscript.
these are the earliest ones. The
Yeah.
earliest ones, not the compilation. We have compiled books. They date back to the time of Uthman. We do. We have many. What the problem was here people were like, let's look for the earliest, and the Sanaa tends to be one of the earliest parchments of the manuscript.
Right. So this one you're saying, which is the Uthmani text.
Yeah.
What year is it from?
659.
No.
It's about 30 years. No, 20 years, 10 years, 10.
Yeah, but isn't that older than the Sanaa though?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So where is it?
No, but we're not basing, we're not basing the Quranic text today on the Sanaa text. The Sanaa text just happens to be a text that is very early. We said, oh, look at this. If we compare all we have from the Sanaa text with the Uthmani, there is a huge correspondence that agree with each other. And on top of that, I didn't know this, I learned this today. If you use the UV light, there's something that goes, apparently it's called C1, that goes even further.
Yeah. I've seen the images.
Okay, so I absolutely don't see any issue here. The Uthmani text is preserved, it's there. Okay,
What?
you can go. There's Quranic manuscript.
No, I don't.
Okay, there are Qurans. There are Qurans that date back to the time of the Uthman Caliphate, and what comes after that. There is plenty of text.
And do you know where these ancient texts? You know where they're located?
There's plenty of universities that have them.
And they've taken pictures of them?
There are manuscripts in Damascus. There's the manuscripts in Egypt and all these places.
And those are complete ones.
Yeah. Do you have? Oh, definitely. After Uthman, you have definitely books. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You do.
Because it's just like you're.
You do. It's not that. The problem here was that we're trying to figure out what is the earliest text that we can have, because there is a controversy with Uthman for some scholars, because Uthman essentially, if you look at it from a critical point of view, edits the book. There is a codex that's happening, right? All the other books, or other parchments and manuscripts are collected. And done over with.
Oh, you're just talking about what it says in the Hadith, you mean?
No, I'm talking about when.
Yeah, but what Uthman did, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I'm talking about afterwards. But
no, I'm saying. So that happens, right? And some people are critical of that process. Would say, well, because that happened, what is earlier than that? And that's where the Sanaa thing comes in.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, the reason why I was bringing this up is, you know what you're saying about the memorization. Yeah. So the reason why I said to him about memorizing the wrong one is that, do you know of the differences between the current Arabic recitation and what's in the Sanaa manuscript?
I refer back to Angelika Neuwirth, who is a German Orientalist of the highest order.
Right.
And she has a lecture that you can watch. I can write you the name down.
Right.
And it's about the social media, the cultural social media of the Prophet Muhammad. It deals precisely with the first century encounterings of the Prophet, and why it's been so difficult to establish or reconstruct that. But in the lecture, she talks about a Quranic manuscript, and she also talks about a preserved recitation that was passed down. So there's a chain of transmission, in Azhar University, and they double-checked it in the 60s. So, just a second. So there is chain of narration,
Yeah.
that is, they say, approximately 1,400 years old.
Okay.
And it's traced back from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher in Azhar, and it's still the same with the Quran we have today. Azhar being over 1,000 years old. Azhar is an institution that's older than 1,000 years.
Right.
Yeah. So they have a oral preserved tradition that has been passed down, and it's compared with the Quran that we have today. It's not true.
Right. So but then that one you're talking about. So you're saying that would have differences between the Sanaa and the Sanaa.
I can't comment on that, but I know that there is because we talk about oral tradition, there is a old tradition that's been going on for 1,400 years in Azhar University.
Okay, I don't know if you ever heard of this, because I've been listening to some things be said by James White in relation to the Bible manuscripts.
Sure.
And he says that what they've done is they've gone and they've got all of the Bible manuscripts and papyrus, anything they could do, and they basically fed it into a computer, so the computer can have all the text there, so that they can then compare, so they can try and work out, even though some texts might be more popular than others, they want to see if the popular ones might have just come from one source, and they're using the computer to try and correlate everything. And one of the things James White was saying is that he knows that a lot of Christians are like unhappy about it because of the results that people can get from examining what. And you can even go on. There's a website online which actually you can get the information.
Yeah. What's the website called?
No. I'll have to get the name because I've got a recording of.
James White's talking about this.
Yeah, we're talking about it, but I didn't make a note of what the site was called.
Sure.
But it's just the fact that they've done this, and James he's even obviously examining it as well. And saying about how people are going to use it for negative reasons. But the thing I find interesting about that is the fact that the Christian scholars don't mind doing that. But why is it's so hard to find any Muslim scholars who will come and get the whole Sanaa manuscript, do a line-by-line comparison of the current Arabic, and then tell all the Muslims what it is?
And this goes back to what he was saying to you. And the brother before us. The way we value the preservation and the methodology that we use for preservation is not identical. The Bible is purely scriptural criticism, textual criticism, so it's purely based on text. The materiality of the manuscripts plays a huge role in the Bible. Whereas with the Quran, it's not the case. The Quran compiles its two components. It's the Kitab, Mus'haf.
Right.
Kitab, Mus'haf. It's not two same thing. Kitab is the physicality of the thing. Mus'haf is the recitation.
Okay.
And the Muslims have both things. So we don't just focus on the text. So our way of our value system in terms of epistemology and the way we preserve things aren't always the same way, and they don't have to be the same way.
Right.
You want to memorize the same thing.
Yes, I know, but you have to make sure you're memorizing the right thing, though.
If you're really interested in this, you research into how the Quran was actually compiled in terms of its preservation. We have imams, their names, we know their students, we know how it was passed down. This is called Ilm al-Quran. Right? The Ilm al-Quran. So it's the study of the Quran and how it's been transmitted. This is something that we base upon. This is where our pride lies in and how we determine truth. It's not identical to. And also, I'm an African man. I'm telling you right now, as an African, we have oral tradition. That go way back 1,000 years. So text is not always the criteria, including. And I was talking to another Christian friend here early on, the guy who was here before. I said to him, what you find is that, the way knowledge was compiled in the ancient world is entirely different the way we view and compile knowledge today. Today, if Winston Churchill wants to get his own subjective best person in terms of text, he's going to hire a biographer. The biographer is going to live with him for a very long time, and they're going to compile Winston Churchill's life the way he fits it to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Previously, the way they used to compile information is slightly different. You will find that Plato, that Western philosophy and thinking is based upon, does not have a direct book that goes back to the lifetime of Plato. Plato's ideas are compiled by Aristotle.
Yeah, they haven't got writings from Aristotle.
Right? That's the claim. And then you have like secondary writings. The same thing goes with Aesop. Aesop's fables, incredibly enriching and influencing the Western world. The Odyssey, same thing. For 200 years were orally transmitted.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Do you know of any country in the world where when they teach children at school, that they do it as oral and not as textbooks?
Yeah.
Where?
If you go to places like Mauritania, they do that.
All right, but okay, so let's go up a level. Are there any industrial countries where they have people who are taught to do engineering, construction, where they teach orally?
But then that's what type of there's different types of knowledge, right? So if we're talking purely about religious text, you will find that the oral transmission is something that it's more to do with ancient religion. For example, the Buddhists have this thing called Dharma transmission. The Dharma transmission is literally Buddhist monk, high-ranking Buddhist monk families who have a whole chain of transmission that goes down, and you can trace it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not exclusive to Muslims.
But I think maybe that's one of the things about the Bible is because when you look at what was given to Moses, the writings that were given to him, or the information that was given to him from God, was related to how people behaved, how the priests were supposed to do things, and how things were to be constructed as well.
Sure.
So it was more akin to what you'd expect you'd get from a educational institution. Because
sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that could be one of the reasons why you're saying about there being a difference.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't that then be the case that since God did it that way, similar to how education institutions do it and engineering companies do it, that means the Bible then is a lot more practical for how people are living.
Well, the Quran, as we know, is not just orally, right? There's also text, but I guess it's technology and all these things, that contribute to the way we compile information. If you think about it, like before the Gutenberg press, you have this thing called scriptoriums. These are like places where the monks copy manuscripts manually, right?
Yeah, that's how they always have to do it.
And that changes when the Gutenberg press comes in.
Yeah.
So technology plays a huge role here as well. So if we're talking about ancient text here, then the way they compile information is going to be different. It's going to be different. But then also, like I said to you, it's also to do. You really have to look at the social milieu of those societies. Why do Buddhists have Dharma transmissions? Why do they have like Buddhist transmissions of like high-ranking families? Because they place value in because they train their mind quite a lot. So their value lies in the mind more than what is in the text. So it depends who you go to, like in ancient times.
So you're talking about the value, of memorizing the Quran off by heart?
No, we're talking about the value on how to determine how ancient societies compiled information. Any information.
Yeah. So I'm just saying because I don't know if you've read in the Bible, like the New Testament.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the times it keeps mentioning the scribes and Pharisees, and like you said about the job of the scribes, that they are just like basically they're like typewriters essentially. So their job is to keep copying and stuff because obviously papyrus is the cheaper stuff, deteriorates quickly. So you have
if
to
you
keep.
look at Jewish history,
Shall I tell you something
oral
really
tradition.
quickly?
No, please. But if you look at because we're having a conversation.
I understand.
If you look at like Jewish history, like you will find that oral tradition plays a humongous role as well.
Yeah.
Centuries. So that this idea that maybe you're right. Maybe it's urbanization. Maybe once people get a bit more urbanized, paper and script and all these things become a thing. But it's not always the case.
Let me just make one point, brother, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's say we have a Bible, yeah? And let's say you copied out that Bible 1,000 times.
We talk
Yeah?
Yeah. All right.
Let's say you copied out that Bible 1,000 times, brother, yeah? Now let's say, are you gonna know that Bible off by heart? Because you've copied it out 1,000 times.
No.
No, you're probably gonna maybe be able to write it out 1,000 times. Or you might be able to write it off by heart, but you're not gonna have memorized it off by heart.
Yeah.
The best way to memorize something off by heart is to memorize it in your head, not
Yeah.
just to write. Once it's in your head, right, you can then orally read it out off by heart, which is why people who memorize the Quran orally, right, and you're reciting any verse of the Quran, as soon as you make a mistake, they'll be able to tell you there's a mistake. You didn't pronounce this right, you didn't say this wrong.
Yeah, but there's a problem though. Have you ever heard of the Sanaa manuscript? The Sanaa manuscript.
Okay, which one is that?
Yeah, you haven't heard of it?
Which one, probably the name, which one is this? The one that there was things underneath it?
Yeah, the one that throw in Yemen in Sanaa.
No problem. Shall I tell you why? Because this is what happens when your main source of compiling information is through writing. Yeah? When it's through writing, if there's damaged script, if someone has written over it, if someone has physically changed it, yeah, it means that because that is your foundation of the text, you might start thinking, oh, it's wrong, oh, there's contradictions. However, if people know it off by heart, and there's a group of people that know it off by heart, if you make a mistake, he can correct you.
Right.
He knows it off by heart, he knows it off by heart, he knows it off by heart, word for word, sound for sound,
Yeah.
pause for pause.
Right, so that Sanaa manuscript, would it have been dictated by someone who knew it off by heart?
It might have been dictated by someone who knew it by heart.
Right.
It might have been written by someone who thought himself he knew it by heart.
No, so you're telling me...
I'm telling you, for example, you know something off by heart. Sometimes you start writing it. So you know a poem off by heart, you start writing the poem down off by heart. That version that you have is for you.
Yeah, but if you're tasked with someone with plenty of money,
Yeah.
he's going to kill 100 of these cows, and he's going to get the skin, and he's going to write that information down.
Yeah.
Is he going to get like the worst reciter or the absolute best reciter to put the?
There's two different things. There's a good reciter,
Yeah.
and then there's a scribe, someone who writes it down.
No, just the reciter. Is he going to get the absolute best reciter so he doesn't waste his money?
Who makes no mistakes. Majority of, this is what I'm trying to tell you, the majority of recitation, everyone will be good.
Right, okay.
So the sound, the eloquence of it might be different. You might prefer this guy's voice from this guy's voice. But every letter, every word is exactly the same from all reciters. If you make a mistake, then you've made a mistake. If you can't stand up to that standard of reciting it perfectly, you're not a reciter.
Right,
Okay?
but I'm still just confirming. So that's on their manuscript, because of whoever was the rich person who was supplying the animal skins,
Okay.
because he's spending good money, would you have got the absolute best reciter?
You probably would have.
All right, so that's fine. So that means that at that time when the Sunni manuscript was written down, whoever that absolute best reciter was, then if you told the obviously told the person what to write and then double checked it afterwards.
There's a difference. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? If I'm reciting
Yeah,
and you're writing, then I'm a reciter,
yeah,
you're a scribe.
yeah.
Okay? If I'm reciting and I'm writing, then I'm a reciter and I'm the scribe.
No, they would have got a reciter and the scribe would have been because that's the most efficient way to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if they did it this way, if I did it perfectly, yeah, and you wrote it down, okay, two things. When you wrote it down, you could have made a mistake and I might check over it. But the point is this, the point is, at that point, you wouldn't have needed to get a reciter here and a scribe here. Because the scribes, if they were scribes, would have known it off by heart, and the reciters, if he knew how to write, he would have done it.
No,
It's
but you get the scribe you get the reciter to double check it anyway.
you wouldn't need to.
You would get it.
No, if you're paying that much money,
It's not about paying that much money.
Yeah.
The books that you're talking about, what I think is the one where there's something underneath it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this is how it goes. Because you said it's an expensive thing, this is how it would go. Not like I can get a piece of paper from there and a piece of paper from there and write over it, and if I get bored I throw this piece of paper and I get another piece of paper. It doesn't really work like that. Back in the day, like you said, it's expensive to write things down. So if I'm going to write something down, I'll write something down. Maybe even to help me memorize what I've written down.
Yeah, that's right.
After that, when I'm finished with that, I wipe that off and I'll write something else. And then when I'm finished with that, I wipe that off and I write something else.
Yeah, no, that's
So what's gone on is that you've got a piece of text that has been written and they've wiped it and written something else on top of it. Now, this process, we can't tell you if the reason someone did that is to memorize themselves or the reason someone did that is to create a standardized version of the Quran. They didn't do it.
Yeah, but that's not what my concern is that the Sanaa was produced, and it has to be someone who had plenty of cattle to get the skin.
Okay.
So since anyone with that much money would obviously insist that they get the best reciter to make sure that whatever's written down is correct. So now, if we then take that and compare it now, and we have but if we have all the millions of Muslims around the world who can recite it, but it's different from what's on that text, that means what they're reciting now is different from what that reciter was reciting then. Yes.
There's two things. The first thing is, just because he's got a lot of sheets, it doesn't mean that he owned all the cows and he killed all the cows and he obtained the sheets, the skins himself. Okay?
No, obviously, no. Usually you would pay someone to do it.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying there's loads of cows, right? That's how you got the skins of the cows. Okay. Now, if I've got loads of skins of the cows, doesn't mean that I own the cows.
No, but someone owned them. So
listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I own the cows, and it doesn't mean that I then killed those cows to obtain their skin.
Yeah, I know.
Basically,
that's not the point.
My point is, you might have 5 pieces of skin. He might have 5 pieces of skin. He might have 5 pieces of skin, and I might have bought all your pieces of skin and collected it for this particular project.
Yeah, but it's still expensive. That's the point.
The skin is particularly expensive.
That's all the point is.
It's not to the astronomical expensive of 100 cows. Do you understand? It's very different when you think it's that level expensive. Now, for someone, do you understand what I'm trying to say? If I had my cows, they were my cows, owning 100 cows.
Yeah, you're saying you're spreading the cost out, is what you're saying.
It might have been spread out a lot.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, but it's still good.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, furthermore, for Islam, I could have gone to you and said, yo, I'm going to write a version of the Quran. I'm going to write down the Quran. Can you donate to me these sheets?
Yeah.
So we don't know where it come from. Okay?
Yeah.
My point being is this. That Quran, if it had any mistakes in it or any differences in it, to what people were reciting
at that time,
which was the same that was at the time of the Prophet and till today.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
What's the problem?
The fact that if you examine the Sanaa, you can actually find the differences between the Arabic on the Sanaa and the current Arabic.
Okay, so what do you mean by that little dots? What do you mean?
No, there's actually some parts have got missing words.
Missing words? Okay.
Yeah, there's actually words which aren't there.
Okay, so now let me explain this to you. Is there ones that are words added?
Well, yeah, actually, I think they even said that there's a part where there might have been a sentence added as well.
There's a sentence added?
Yeah, that's what they say.
I'm not sure, I don't think I'm 100% sure. My point is this. If there's something missing, that could be easily a scribal mistake.
Yeah.
Okay? That doesn't mean that everything that everyone else is saying is wrong. If something is added, again, that's a scribal mistake. If it's a sentence added, that's another scribal mistake.
Yeah, but remember that
doesn't show you that the Quran is different, because that verse, you see that book, that version, right? Even if it's the only one that survived, is in contrary yeah, not to the thousands of books all over the world of the Quran. It's contrary to the memorized version all over the world.
Yeah, but remember what I was saying though, that because of the expense of getting animal skins, they'd make sure that it was the absolute best reciter.
Everyone
who double checked it.
Everyone
Yeah.
who recites the Quran and who writes it tries to make sure that there's no absolute best. It's not like a football match. It's someone who is correct. In Islam, there is no absolute best. It can come to opinion where you're like, I prefer this person's voice or this person's voice, but there's a standard, which is this guy has said it word for word correct. If he hasn't, even if he's got a beautiful voice, he's wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is no absolute best reciter.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about the double checking of the Sanaa.
Okay.
So what I would expect is that they get the best reciter to come in.
If he was the best reciter, if he was truly the best reciter,
Yeah.
the author of that version of the Quran would be known.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? He would have been famous in the Islamic community to the extent that they would know this Quran belonged to this individual, this Quran belonged to this individual, or this Quran was written for this individual. The fact that it wasn't, and we don't know whose Quran it was, doesn't mean that because you're saying it's written down in cow skin means that it must have been a reliable source. It might have been someone who's wealthy, maybe, but doesn't mean he was the most intellectually capable or best reciter, like you're saying. Just because he's rich, does not mean.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that being rich, he'd get the best reciter.
Not necessarily.
Well, why not?
Not necessarily.
And you saying that he wouldn't have it double checked by another reciter?
I'm saying not necessarily. I'm saying if he did or if he didn't, yeah, the fact that it's expensive to write it on cow skin, does not make it mean that it was done by the best reciter. I'm saying what makes it more likely to have been written and scribed by the best reciter, is for it to have been known that this Quran belongs to the best reciter. Because you understand, in Islam, it's the piety of the individual that is favoured. It's the respect and the knowledge of the individual that's the respect more than their finances. So if this was written by the best imam, you're saying the best reciter,
No. The rich person would get the best reciter. So the actual reciter doesn't have to be rich or famous, just has to be good and be accredited that he's a good reciter.
That version would be ascribed to who? That book would be ascribed to.
Well, usually it'd be ascribed to the actual rich person who put it together, rather than the reciter.
It'd be ascribed to the reciter as well. It'd be ascribed to the reciter. He's the one that wrote the book. He's described that wrote the book, the Quran.
Yeah, but remember, to be safe, you get more than one reciter to double check it, wouldn't you?
You would.
Yeah, so that means you wouldn't necessarily, well, unless you put all three of
I'm
the.
I'm telling you this is basically the moral, the crux of the argument is because a rich person wrote this or got this project gone, you champion this project does not mean that the book is a reliable book. If it contradicts the majority of everyone else around you that knows it off by heart, okay, then that book is a mistake. Even if it was written by the King of Kings. Even if the King of Kings got the King of Reciters and the King of Scribes to write it down, simply put, if it contradicts not what other versions or other book versions that other people have, what other people know off by heart for generation upon generation upon generation. You know Quranic recitation, this is so you understand this. It's not like other memorizations whereby you can listen to a song online and self-teach yourself and then say that's it, you know it off by heart. It doesn't work like that. You need to go get a certificate from someone who knows it off by heart, who got his certificate from someone who knows it by heart, who got his certificate who knows it by heart. You see this chain of certificates goes all the way back to the Prophet.
Oh, but then that's even better. So that rich person who handled the Sanaa, that what you just said there, he would have just made sure that he had. So then that means.
But my point is, the book doesn't matter because I could have out of spite written it different. You could have looked at, I could have changed it. Whatever happens to the book, means that the book, if it's not correct, it's fine. That's a book.
Yeah, but remember they did find it in the mosque. So the fact it would be in a mosque means plenty of people who could have memorized it would have been able to add access to it.
Okay, that's fine.
So then they could have double checked it.
That's fine.
Yeah. So then that means that's a
My
good.
point is, that doesn't change, yeah, what everyone else knows of by heart, brother.
Yeah, at that time. So what they knew of by heart then, which is in the Sanaa manuscript, changed to what we got now, and so now everyone is memorized.
No, you're not getting my point.
Yeah, but this is what we can see physically happen.
No, you're not getting the point. Yeah, you're not getting
No,
the point.
that's different from back in the time of the Sanaa manuscript.
No, that's one version, one Quran,
Yeah.
one book, written by a rich person, okay?
And double check.
And double checked by whoever, by 1,000 billion people,
Yeah.
by a whole country.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. That contradicts all the other versions that people know of by heart. And contradicts all the other persons that people have written down. But forget the written down part, because Islam is not like Christianity, it's not like Judaism that cares about the written down. That's not the way the tradition has been passed on. It's an oral tradition. So even if you become the king of the world, the king of America, the king of England, and whoever you want, and you give the most expensive computer, and you write it down with gold, yeah, and you do whatever you want to do, brother.
Yeah.
If it contradicts, yeah, the memorized versions that people have around the world, off by heart, then we're going to look at you and we're going to be like, that's not the Quran. If you change one letter, one word, you take it out, you move it, we're going to say to you, brother, that's not the Quran. Now listen, originally, this is what goes in to show that we don't care about the written version as much as you think it'd be surprising to you, but we don't.
Oh, no.
You see the shapes that people add on top and below and all of these things?
Yeah.
The reason it was added on is because people care about the recited version.
Yeah.
This brother's from this country and this brother's from this country. This brother might use different accents, different words, and he might use different accents and different words.
Yeah.
So when we're telling you,
I don't know where it comes from. I don't know Fatiha, I don't know. If you read the first Fatiha, it's the same.
the same. But there's a little bit of accentual distinctions, for example. Yeah? So now it's the same words, but I'm telling you just to get precise, to be exact. I'm saying, say hello. Hello. You see that, yeah? That might be different. It might be unacceptable. Even that.
It doesn't change the meaning.
It doesn't change. No one's talking about changing.
If you read the first chapter from the Quran,
No one's talking about changing. No one's talking about the change in meaning. I'm talking about even hello. Yeah? You can't say hello. Hello. Even that. The word is hello. But I'm saying even the way I said hello, even that is regulated. You don't say hello. Even that, yeah? That's why you might find people with the Dhamma. That's why you might find Qurans without the little lines on top. And people already know how to read it. Yeah?
Right.
The point being is that the written version was never the foundation. The foundation is in the heart. When we memorize it off by heart, then I can look at a Quran and I can start reading and I'll be like, oh, hang on a minute, this is a little bit wrong. This is wrong.
they know it in their heart.
They know it in their heart.
If you change the book, he knows it.
As soon as you read it, this guy might know a little bit. As soon as you pray, yeah, so we're standing behind.
No, he makes mistakes.
Yeah.
People behind you stand up straight away and say, that's a mistake, that's a mistake.
Right, but have you heard about the 10 Qiraats, the 10 readings?
This is what I'm trying to explain to you.
Right.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you. The 10 Qiraat, yeah? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Maliki Yawm Al-Din. Remember what I just said?
Yeah, no,
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Maliki Yawm Al-Din.
Yeah, the Malik is different.
What did I say? You heard the distinction.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay. What does Malik and Malik mean?
One's owner and one's king.
Yeah. Is the meaning the same?
Not quite.
The meaning is the same.
Right.
Because, do you know why? Because God is the owner of Judgment Day. And you know God is the king of Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Do you get it? They're not contradictory.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Are there any, between the Hafs and Warsh, are there any word differences where there's a missing word? Yes, you haven't done any research.
I have done my research. I have done my research.
Sometimes the word
You
is
have.
similar but different meaning.
Yeah, sometimes.
But if you miss this missing word, then you haven't completed your research.
What you're talking about, the missing word, is at the beginning of the surah.
Does not in any way make any of God, because there's
What's the missing word? Give me an example if you've done the research. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is an invocation that we make before
If he's not Arabic, he read the same. If he's not Arabic, he read the same. Pakistani, Indian, African, English, French, wherever when he read the Fatiha, he read the same. When he read the Quran, he read the same. Just sometimes a little bit different accent.
That's different.
أنا جسمي مصروف في الجهاز. Look what he said that. In Psalm 51, David said that also something that he was born. You don't believe. ما يبغون يتكلم ولا يخرجوني ولا يدخلوني هنا مثل الحيوانات أنا وبنتي. أبغي أحد يساعدني أبغي محامي. سكروا الأكواس بيروا بوشي. سكروا الهاوسي بوشي. سكروا كل شيء بوشي. أنا يمنية اسمي صفية سعيد أحمد. سكنت ولد 1975.
Israelites will return to take down Islam.